me like spending the entire week unmasked out in public, being myself, because that's where that needs to be expressed now. I have that where in my own space, I do it all day long. And now I'm like, you know what? How much of this can I bring out there then? Because I'm still working this reality. I'm still needing to go out to
Mm.
the store. I'm still needing to go out to all these places. So what is it going to look like when I wear a silly costume and I start singing randomly to people? Say hello, everybody. This is beautiful Anya, and I'm Z, and we usually come on here to chat about all of the things multidimensional, spiritual embodiment, physical, nervous system, and all the other swag we got going on in our human lives.
Just jotting it all down a little bit.
Yep, exactly. So we were talking specifically about unpicking things, valuing ourselves, stepping away when needing to. Okay, word.
Yeah, yeah, big one. And just shifting through this week, we was just talking before, it just came to me, before we jumped on, we was talking about how we've been struggling a little bit to navigate the human world. So I don't know if anybody else is experiencing that, but as Z said, we do talk a lot about the energy updates of what's been going on this week, the frequency that's coming into the collective, and the personal things that we experience. And if you do check out his previous videos, you can see all the things on our journey and beyond. But our last video, Z talked about how she got a download in one of her recent spiritual NDE experience, like transformational experiences downloads that she got. Not if I'm using the right words, but yeah, the information she received was that her physical reality is going to change in what that appears with the spiritual energy that's coming in. Again, I hope I'm wording it right, correct me. And I really resonated with that because I was like, actually, I'm really struggling out here. Like, I've talked a little bit about neurodivergence before. We've kind of touched on it a few times. And I always joke about being crazy ADHD, and I am literally a walking poster for ADHD. I'm not actually gonna lie. But I think lately I've realized it's more nuanced than that. Like I have maybe some little tisms in there and some little things in there that I've just learned so well to mask. A lot of women do. It's quite a known statistic, I believe, that women are way more able to mask at a young age than men and then struggle internally rather than externally. I'm not saying that's how everyone experiences it. It's just, I think, some on average experience it that way. And I am definitely in that category. I don't often externally have outbursts unless I'm in a private space. And it's more internally melting down, panic attacks, trying to regulate my nervous system, regulate my body, and wondering like, does anybody else feel like this or is this just me? I feel like that's a big one for me. I'm always questioning, like, especially as a mum, sometimes I'm always questioning, like, does other people find this stuff hard or is this just me? Like the noise overload and the time pressures and getting out of the house with all the stuff and things. It's like, it feels like sometimes the end of the world, and if I'm not prepared or something changes or I don't have something I need, it's like crisis. And it's not actually that bad, but it feels like it is. And so I guess, yeah, I've been really struggling with the human navigation on what that looks like and regulating my body a lot more, struggling to be in certain environments, having to remove myself out of environments and advocate for myself a little bit more and say, I'm just struggling at the moment. I just need a little bit of time to like get back into my body and feel comfortable and stuff. And I have been questioned on it a little bit, like, oh, what do you mean you're fine usually? And I've struggled with an answer because, yeah, usually I am fine.
Sure.
So what's changed? And I guess I wanted to bring that up a little bit because I know you mentioned it and I don't really know how to answer that question. I don't really know what has changed specifically in the past, I don't know, a few weeks to the month, but it just feels like the energy that's coming in now, this has always been increasing in the past couple of years, of course, but physically because we're embodying it, there's a shift. What do you think?
Honestly, for me, the way that I see it is like it's unmasking all of our protection barriers that we've had for a very long time to stay human.
Interesting. I love the way you worded that. Yes. Unmasking all of the protection barriers. Oh, that rung a bell. Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Because,
yeah. They're pretty
yeah.
deep. They're pretty deep too. Because for me, the way that I perceive interact with the world, I've had that since I was little. I thought everybody else was the same. That's not the
Right.
case.
Right. I thought that too. Because I was about 16 when I realized this is not everyone else's
Like,
life.
oh,
This is just
nobody's seeing like, all the energy flying off that tree. Look, there's a
Mhm.
walker right there. There's nobody's seeing that. That's when I messed
Did
up.
you not hear that?
Nobody experienced that. Oh boy. Well,
Yes. Yeah. And even just feeling like I'm experiencing a lot lately. Obviously, my kids are my kids. So, sorry, let's say less. They're going to be their own little beings. And my little girl is one now, and she is hilarious. I have never met a more expressionate child. It is beyond, it's hilarious. But the one thing, like I got called a drama queen a lot as a kid, and I don't believe I was half as expressionate as Sky. She is out there. She's the face is, oh my gosh, it's full on, like, and then head on floor, won't look at you with side eye. And she's 1 year old, and I'm like, where has this come from? This is like the deepest sass I have ever seen in the smallest human on earth. And she looks you down. Anyone she sees in public, and face. It's like there is no mistaking that. There is no mistaking it for anything else. It is clear as day the disgust in her face on any other human that walks by. And I'm like, wow. But people say to, oh, can I have your hands full with that one? Oh, she's such a drama queen. Oh, she's and I really struggle with it. And I'm having to like kind of nicely change the words. Like, yeah, she's very expressionate and but we love it. And she's very fiery and we love it because I don't want her to ever feel like she's too much for just being herself. And I guess going back to what you said, we are unmasking the protective barriers that we built because we felt like we were too much for the world, for the environment we were in, whatever that looked like. And so it is I guess, the thing that we're going through right now. If we're trying to not do that to our children, then of course it's something we're going to have to undo to ourselves along the way.
Yep.
Mm.
Yeah, and I would say, for my body at this time and space, those deep ones are a bit rough to unmask, right? Like whether it's been a spiritual mask that I've had on, which I've had
Mhm.
plenty of those, whether it's like being able to be out in general, and all of those protective barriers, like now those are really, really gone. And so my body
Yeah,
is having to face, okay, how am I going to regulate in this space? What do I need to say? What does that look like? Because I'm also getting far more I've always been expressive, but now it's like you can tell.
there is no, yeah. She's embodying her inner sky. It's coming there. It's going true, honestly.
Exactly. I'm
She's
like,
an icon.
excuse me.
Honestly, I love it. We all need to embody a bit more of that. But it's truth, it's authenticity. That's the thing. Like using my baby girl again, because she's 1 year old, that's not for anyone's entertainment other than her own true expression right now in its rawest form. And it's really hilarious to watch, but also interesting to watch how unfiltered it is and like just honest. She's just brutally honest, and it's just there. You can't mistake it. And I look at it sometimes and think, we have been taught so much to shrink. And obviously, I do a lot of the recoding, reparenting. It's one of the big workshops I'm doing right now, and the big technique I've learned and I'm sharing with a lot of people because I think it's really important and really kind of game changing. It allows you to fully get the root of the mind, body, soul, nervous system, and actually pull it up and get rid of it. So it's not going to keep coming back up and keep coming back up and keep coming back up. You have to be ready to want it to go. But if you are in that space, then it will not keep coming back up. And that's the kind of value of it. And as I've been doing that, so many of mine are like afraid of being too much, afraid of failing, afraid of being seen. And it all roots down to the safety aspect for me and not feeling safe to be myself and to just exist and be my true self, and feeling like that was an issue.
Yep.
So it's definitely something I've been sitting with and holding space for. And also I've not been afraid lately to like advocate for when I might need to take a break or I might need to ask for space or I might need to remove myself out of the situation. And sometimes I let my triggers get the best of me and I have a snapback moment if it's a trigger. But sometimes I'm really finding that I'm just truly standing in my authenticity and owning that and standing in it and just advocating. And majority of the time I'm doing that, it is just the odd glitchy glitch, where I have a little slip up. But it's human. We're allowed to, it happens. But I'm noticing far more how I am owning my stuff a lot more and owning my needs, my requirements. And that's not from anyone else. I don't necessarily need you to do anything for me. Just don't get in my face. Don't over trigger me right now while I'm trying to sort my shit out, basically. Leave me alone. And it's advocating that in the kind of most appropriate way.
Absolutely, in the best way possible. That means for me, I'm definitely because my body has its sovereignty. So anytime it's in that space, it's constantly discerning, okay, what is this? If it is a trigger, like I'm not gonna run away from it. I'm gonna sit with it for a second and give it
Mm-hmm.
a breath. But if it's something that because my body can also use triggers as a mask, by the way.
Right?
So there's that, it could be like, oh, look, that's a trigger phase. And I'm like, wait a second. My body's not it's not a full body interaction. I know it's not stuck in there. So whatever my perspective, my body's pulling back into the space, it's because it feels like it should have to do something or there's an expectation there. Sometimes that's to stay longer. But it's very much so differentiating between these states and full permission to be like, hey, no, this isn't going to work for me. To speak up, especially like, I noticed with connections the last little while, this has been something that I've watched. When my system has been used to like people dropping or ghosting, or like whatever that might be, for whatever reason, and that's totally okay. My body's like, I don't feel like I was met in a space. But I
Yeah.
was used to not
Yeah.
being met in a space, right? Okay, that's where I was used to. I was used to like being like, oh yeah, cool, that's it. And I take responsibility for my own stuff and how I've done that in certain ways because I didn't have capacity in certain cases to do
Yeah.
what I needed to do to verbally communicate or say I need to take the space here or yeah, this isn't going to work for me. Now that's just very clear with everything, and it's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, you know what, that didn't work for me. I'm going to speak out. That wasn't in reciprocity, or I'm not feeling right about this one. And trusting my body and going, yeah, that needs to be disconnected.
Yeah. And that obviously does take a little bit of a time, I think, to get to that place of recognition, awareness, communication, trust, ability to work on it, and confidence in that ability, and then knowing that you can follow up on it and integrate it and embody it. And I've said a lot of big words there all at one time. I didn't do know that, but it's a process. And it does take a little bit of time, and that's what I wanted to kind of highlight there. This is not going to happen overnight.
Totally.
We both started doing this as children, but then, like, obviously, I professionally got into it at 17, 18, being a tarot card reader, not really into this stuff, but, into the world of spirituality. And I'm sure you were very young as well, Z. And so it's that sense of we have been doing this a long time. This is not and that's not as an ego thing. What I'm saying is don't compare your journey and your place and where you're at to anyone because we've been quite lucky to be able to physically be learning this stuff and doing this stuff in our human lives for the past decade and more. And so we've had this ability to learn things and go deep and sit with it. And we've had time. The ascension and the healing process was a lot slower 10 years ago than it is now. Let me just say what we took 6 months to go through, you guys go through in a day. And so just there's a difference in where it's true though, right? Like I remember sitting through stuff for weeks on end and months on end. And now I see people shift through the same stuff in a day and I think, what? What's going on there? But it's the time, the frequency, the energy, the space we all hold for each other in the collective is far heightened now. So we all have this accessibility to faster heal, faster ascend. I don't know what the words are, but you know what I mean? To let it go faster. The space is there, the blueprint is there in the collective for us to tap into, for anyone to tap into when they are ready, which has sped up that process in human form. And I guess that's why a lot of us are here, the light workers, the healers, the bridges, the builders. It's to bring things like this skills, techniques, knowledge, reflections, space holding to allow people to heal this stuff and faster because the whole point is to get out of this grey space, you know?
Box.
Yeah. Not doing it for me. I don't know anybody else, but I'm not vibing.
No, no, not doing it anymore.
No, I was getting the energy earlier. I want to be sitting on the beach, sipping pina colada,
Doing art.
doing the vibes.
Hey,
That's what we need. We need that energy. We need that. carefree, joy, childlike energy, as well as the grounded, anchored, mother-like, grandmother-like, protective energy. We have the embodiment of it all, but we don't have enough of the fun and the freedom and the lightness and the laughter and the childlike play. I mean, people get annoyed at kids laughing on a bus, at kids existing, being there, playing, being present, and just being a child. And people get annoyed at them existing and then wonder why these people are growing up feeling like they're a burden to life, you
Oh,
know?
totally. Absolutely. You know,
Good.
that was going to be one of the biggest comments that I got all the way back when I started doing videos. It would be like, she giggles a lot. She laughs too much. And I was like, oh my God.
Do it.
That's going to keep happening
Okay.
because my
Yeah.
little kid has always been kind of up and center, and I use
That's,
that lightness for means of working through my reality. It has to be
yeah.
there. Otherwise, like, forget it. I
Yeah.
don't want to be here, right?
Yeah, and I hear that especially through the journey you have taken, Z, and the experience of things you have. I feel like you say, that light that your own child brings is such a light to not only you but to everyone else around you. And I think it was so necessary for survival and expansion and light spreading. You know, you did a lot with that little inner light beam. She shines a lot. And really, really nice. I do have a lot of acknowledgement and appreciation for it because it gives me permission also to exist too. And I think that's what your inner child does do for a lot of people, is just simply give them permission to exist. And I think that's really beautiful. And I think other people can do that if they embody it. And that's kind of something to reflect to people, is don't be afraid to just laugh if you want to laugh. Be free if you want to free. Dance in the rain if you want to dance in the rain. You
Absolutely.
know, do what feels good to your body. I swear like a sailor. You know what I mean?
I love it.
Because if you don't like it, you know, absolutely, you know. And I really don't have any shame over it. I used to, because I always thought, oh, it's not really right. It's not really right to say. But for me, my human enjoys it. Okay. So
Exactly.
it is
Exactly.
what it is. And
For
it's my
sure.
way of expressing my little self. And obviously I find my environments that are appropriate and that work for me. But I don't hide it and I don't feel shame about it and guilt about it. It's that's what naturally just flows out of my vocabulary. You know, it's just a small example, but it is important to not filter yourself for the world. Who
Oh
you
yeah,
want filter for,
for
you know?
sure.
Especially when you're on your own.
Yeah,
When you're
yeah.
limiting yourself for dance around the house like a lunatic, dance around naked if you want. Who cares? Because who's actually going to say something? You're at home on your own, in your own skin, in your own space, where you say, so who's going to judge you?
Yourself. That's who. If anybody needs to
Exactly,
compare
girl.
it yourself.
Yeah. And so get them tunes on and stop judging and get dancing around that house. Because
Exactly.
honestly, I think it's acts of rebellion that are going to get us through this shit.
Oh, for sure.
We're like,
And
it's too
entirely
much.
being yourself. Like that's me like spending the entire week unmasked out in public being myself because that's where that needs to be expressed now. I have that where in my own space I do it all day long, and now I'm like, you know what? How much of this can I bring out there then? Because I'm still working this reality. I'm still needing to go out to
Mm.
the store. I'm still needing to go out to all these places. So what is it going to look like when I wear a silly costume and I start singing randomly to people? Like what does that look like? Because in that space, I went to a farmer's market, by the way, and I started singing to people. It was a good time.
Yeah, that's me on a daily. Don't worry about it. See, I'm just a walking jukebox. And then I get people in the supermarket. Oh, you're really good. I'm like, "Oh, thanks. I'm just carrying on. I'm like,
So, hey.
well, you know, like you said, it's a regulation thing. And I didn't even realize that people don't do this. You know, I realized so much watching my kids. They just dance anywhere they are. They're like, arms start swinging, legs start going, and they're like this. And I think, oh gosh, I must dance a lot. I must do that, you know, because they don't have that. They just do it. And I really am glad for that because I have that in my head, but I try and not, obviously, I just do it with them, obviously, all the time. But it's nice to see their free expression without limitation and without fear, you know, of judgment. Yeah. And yeah, going back to it, I think there is got a big leveling up going on. So we are experiencing this, I don't know what you want to call it, something, let's call it a level up because that kind of works. And so we've got, what does that mean? What does that look like? It's a addition of abilities. It's a transmutation of defense mechanisms that we had in place and barriers and things that were keeping us safe, but also not allowing us to be the fullest version of self. It's boundaries putting in place and action being taken on things that are not serving you, things that are not benefiting you because you were people pleasing and looking after other people all the time, it's shifts being made in life, physically and emotionally and spiritually in all aspects. And I think that's what the next leveling up is, what we're currently going through. It's the actual changing of everything,
Yep.
the great awakening
Authenticity,
in human form.
for
But
sure.
with that comes a leveling up in some of the frequencies. I must say I've noticed more of a presence in the lower realms. So I will say, as you're watching this, please make sure you've got your spiritual protection in place. We will protect you, anyone that watches this video, and keep this in a higher heart timeline always. But I do want you to additionally add in your own spiritual protection, which leads me to like what I want to talk about is there has been, as much as there's been a leveling up in consciousness and collective energy that we can access, there's also been a leveling up in how much presence they have in our physical realm at this current moment in time of the lower frequencies. And I noticed it, a few of my people noticed it, and I really wanted to kind of reflect back to those watching this, like how often are you spiritually protecting yourself? How often are you clearing your home? How often are you asking for support from your spirit team, guides, angels, inspirers, loved ones, higher self, anything in between of the highest heart frequency? How often are you actually connecting with specifically the intention of protection, clearing, releasing, keeping yourself energetically released of anything that's not yours, and also protected in your physical, spiritual, and human experience, And I think it's just important to kind of say, as you're furthering up your ascension, you also need to further up your spiritual protection. Even just having the intention to do that is important.
Yeah, I mean, that's self-care, right? The
Mm,
highest level. And sometimes I miss that too. Sometimes I'm excited
mhm.
about like my day and I'm like, I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna work
Yeah,
with people. And then halfway through I'm like, oh, something hit me and I didn't quite
prepare.
catch that because I was
Yeah,
excited, right? And I go back and I go, okay, I'm gonna just make sure that I'm on my highest version of self, that I'm fully connected with my heart, and I was communicating from that base. Now with the whole demasking process, my body does not tolerate a whole lot of not heart-based spaces.
yeah,
He's
100%.
right about it. But throughout the day, whenever you're gonna think about it, over your food, when you're going to walk out, just I'm gonna call my highest version of myself. And also knowing too that, like I said earlier, I went out to go sing like the highest format of tone, frequency that you can get. I had my headphones on and I was singing about unconditional love for a little while because I was super excited about it. That keeps it at the highest resonance too, especially when you're excited about it and you can feel it running through your body. That keeps that at the
Lovely.
highest protection as well. But just a note to self-care, I do this every morning and every evening and always somewhat time in between, especially if I'm working with clients, is like, what's not mine? What is mine? If I'm getting overloaded, like I did one of these, it was like Saturday. I was around a lot of people and I was getting really overloaded and my body started stimming, moving its hands way too
Mhm.
much because I was like, okay, I'm obviously in a space where what's mine, what's not mine, my body's going through it. I ended up having
Yeah,
to leave entirely and go create a fire so that my body
yeah,
felt grounded and focus on what was hers in the space. That's what was needed. So just watch yourself when you're feeling exhausted, drained, a feeling of attack, weird thought forms. Those can come in weird ways. Um,
literally.
you're not
Psychic droppings.
psychic
Mhm.
psychic shitballs.
That's what I call them. I go, psychic attacks. They like send me a little attack, like a message, and I go, hang on a minute. Damn, man. It's like a recognition. Like, I just got a text message from an unknown number and I didn't even know I got a text message. But it's like a quick
Totally.
feel it. You're thinking, "Oh, it's not coming
What
from,"
the
and
heck?
then
I just got some
obviously,
hate mail.
it's a what now? Say what? And I guess there has been times in the past years ago where I wouldn't have deciphered it as much and allowed that to like make me think or be jealous or be insecure or be like angrier than I already was. Because I guess sometimes it's just totally random, but sometimes it can already amplify what you're already feeling. So say if you're already angry and then you like adds in a lot of extra shit, it can help feed off that vibrational energy. But like last night, me and my friend was working through some energy. So she's leveling up a lot in her spiritual development. And naturally, we just ended up talking about some of my experiences through my journey into spiritual protection and like how some things I didn't know about that had happened. And I started to put some stuff together. And I was like having a lot of revelations and feelings and thoughts. And I haven't experienced many lower vibrational energies for a while. Like a lot of us haven't. We had that little blip recently. And then I was like, it's gone again. And then last night I was feeling this. This is interesting. And I was driving home thinking, do I need to be concerned about this? And then on the radio, the next song was Free From Evil, Free From Evil. All right, then we're all good. We're all good. You know, it was really like a deep confirmation on no, we're free from evil. It was just a reminder and a reflection of what we have gone through, what I have gone through, and also to give insight to someone that's don't want to, you don't need to go down that journey that far when you can like learn stuff now to prevent any need to protect yourself that much because you don't need to experience that exposure to that, you know. And it's just like over the years we've learned so much. So of course, it's like when your siblings have been through GCSEs or exams, like they've originated, so of course they're going to give you their coursework and help you like get the benefit of their coursework because they've been through it. It's the same thing in the spiritual healing. Like if we've been through it, we've already experienced it, then of course if you're on the similar path, we're going to give you the coursework so you can not make the same mistakes we did. You get me?
Yeah,
This is the part of the journey.
there's no way I'm going back to that demon hunter, you know.
No.
I did my period in demon hunting. It was a good time, and I'm glad that that's not where that's at anymore. And anytime,
Mm.
obviously, too, like that's a perspective, right? That's also something that was taught to me in my own work and my journey and what that is, and my own thinking of religious factors and things like that when it comes to like evil demons and stuff like that. And really, what happened in the end was my full embodiment, my inner child was like, this is actually hilarious. Because
Mm-hmm.
in 1 second I can shift that, right? That whole
Literally.
reality goes into a new matrix in 2 seconds, I step out of it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm
But
fighting.
it is hard, like thinking back to the versions of me. Like one of the versions that came up when we was talking last night, I was 14, as I mentioned to you. And I won't go into the information just because I don't want to bring frequency, but you know, I didn't know shit about shit then. I didn't know anything about what I was experiencing, or I just knew something wasn't right to the point that I asked my mum to swap bedrooms with me because I knew
Don't want
something is not right here. And that was enough. That was enough intervention of what I needed to protect me enough to move it and to make it stop. But I guess like at that time, that version of me, like she was genuinely terrified because there's no knowledge. And I think like that's what's missing. It's hard as well because as you can see, I'm like code wording. And if you're struggling to understand, I do apologize. But I don't like tapping into the vibration of the words unless I'm specifically like clearing it or working through it or teaching something with a group that are like deeply protected and we're doing the work because I feel when you tap into certain frequencies, you open doorways and energies and portals and things like that. And, you know, I don't know who's watching this and when, and I want to make sure you guys are always on a higher timeline of protected energy. But even that, so how do you educate and enlighten and help share wisdom and experiences and like skills when is really difficult to even integrate with, especially when we're doing it in more of a podcast format rather than a class or a group where you can actually energetically, I don't like the word monitor, but lack of better human words, like monitor the process and make sure everyone's safe whilst experiencing that. I guess it's a funny one. I just thought I'd just kind of swing that by you because there is a lot more people leveling up, which means they're going to need to level up the protection game. But I suppose, how do you go about navigating, sharing that information and wisdom with people without unintentionally bringing through lower frequencies or potentially access to that?
That's a really, really interesting one. It can be challenging. I don't bring
Mm-hmm.
it up unless it's a part of a conversation or something that pops up, or I have
Yeah,
a client that comes in or something like that. I don't mind talking about it because I know for myself, I can dive into that space, close off that parameter, and shift it
right,
out, right? But for those of you who are just starting in this and you hear like the word demon in your body might get dysregulated and you're like, oh no,
right.
what is that? What is that meant to be? Generally right off the bat, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna bring this up because this is a bridge, right? That word is a bridge in order to connect some dot to some other dot.
Exactly, exactly. That's a way better way of putting it. Exactly, that's a bridge.
It's a bridge. It doesn't mean it needs to stay there. And also, too, if we zoom out of that, and like I say one of those words and I zoom out of it and I say, okay, what's my highest version of this? Because it's not that.
Yeah,
That energy is not. It's something that was created, of course, just like everything else. And also, then I'm going to call on my highest version of self. I'll call on my protectors if I feel like that's needed. And I'll make a choice with my system, but I don't want to stay there. And I'm going to resonate
yeah,
right here.
yeah.
But
And
yeah,
that's really good to kind of share with others that might be just starting out as well, like you say, because at the end of the day, if you are getting into this, even awakening, even healing yourself, even opening up, you might be more sensitive, you might be feeling more stuff, you might be aware of certain frequencies in or around people and in places and things like that. And it is bound to happen more. And like Z said, it's hard not to bring it up intentionally when you know it could potentially create a bridge, like we say, an unmonitored bridge on this end because we're not working with people on the other end. But obviously, energetically, we always close it off, so it's fine. We know what we're doing. But you see where, like, there's so many ways that people could potentially put themselves in situations that are not always safe, especially with the TikTok spiritual trends that are on there. It's really dangerous because we have, Ouija boards and portals being made and like just so much stuff going on there.
a lot
And
of cocaine and spice stuff happening.
ooh,
I was
it's
like, I
wild.
need a break.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
crazy.
I would say with all of that, if we're looking at a very psychological and human perspective and we're just dipping into that, the first thing that's going to get set off is fear and safety.
Yeah, exactly. And then you're coming from a low vibration.
Yep. And then your physical body is like going to be like, okay, it's going to run down all these different pathways.
Panic,
That could
fear.
be, yeah, what that looks like. And I would say if you are running through those pathways and something is hitting you, you're either getting triggered or you get highly dysregulated, take a step out of there, take yourself into a regulated space, whatever you need to do with that, and start to discern whether that is of value to you or not.
Yeah, yeah. And always, like I always say, if you're ever unsure, I've said this many times, if you're ever unsure on what you're experiencing or something, some being, some place, whatever, ask, show me your true vibrational frequency.
Oh yeah,
And you
absolutely.
will know instantly. And like Z said, clear it yourself or ask for your guides, your team, your angels to remove it, your higher self, to get rid of it and send it where it needs to go. And that creates different bridges, different options. But don't think that you're making it up. Don't think that you're going mental because you
No, no.
are really seeing this stuff. You are, and it is scary. And I know it's scary to think that your whole life actually there is this stuff being around and probably what you saw as a kid is real and maybe if you're older and you have kids maybe what they saw and you told them what real was real and don't carry shame for that. We were very much brainwashed to think that your imagination is not real, and obviously we know now that's absolute
We,
it's
yep,
not
yep.
correct.
I'm going to say, at least for me,
However,
yeah, exactly. That imagination is more realer than anything else, right?
literally that's the real world, if
Yeah,
you will.
sure.
That is the real one. And I know it's hard to fathom because even I struggle in my human. I know that. But then sometimes living it is also different, navigating that in the human
The
and physical and
embodiment
spiritual. Oh,
of
I
it.
hear it. I hear it. But truly, it is right. Like what we experience there. Because, when people have NDs, when people become religious or whatever it looks like to you, when you find beyond the human, people transform into something so much more deeper filled in
Oh, yeah.
self. And that's the point because what we experience on human is just a tiny bit. What we experience as a soul is so encompassing,
It is.
and so we can't, when you have an experience with that, when you meet that, when you translate that in some form or another, you can't come back to the human and live the same small life, same human life. You have to adjust your human life to match the energy and the frequency coming in, and that's why everything changes. And so, if it creates such profound change in so many people, then surely that's confirmation that what you see and experience in this human realm is not the truth of it all. It's
Right.
a lens perspective offered to give you internal healing, growth,
Totally.
acceptance, healing internally. That's the point. And so, if we choose to view it like that and not take things so personally, and also if you're struggling with situations, partners, families, friends, whoever it may be, things that are triggering your workplaces. I think one thing I've been learning is stop giving it your energy.
There we go. I was going to say it right there. I'm like, don't give it your power.
Don't
Call it
give it
back.
your power. And what that looks like is maybe you can't quit the job. Maybe you can't leave the relationship. Maybe you can't cut off your mum and dad and your brother and sister and whatever it looks like. I don't know. Maybe you can't. Okay. Sure, you can do. Stop giving it all your energy. Do you know what that means? Stop wondering, are they going to care? Are they going to get it? Are they going to hear me? Are they going to text me back? Are they ever going to accept it? Are they ever going to acknowledge it? Are they ever going to apologize? Am I ever going to get validation? Stop caring. Stop searching for it. Stop giving them the ability to give you that validation in self. Now is the time you either accept it in yourself and see it and actually see it and embody it, regardless of what so and so and the mum says about it, embodying it, or you keep searching for somebody else to give you that missing piece, that answer, but it will always become taken away and replaced with something. And searching, it's a constant quest for that external piece.
Yep.
Whereas if you fix the piece, if you give yourself that, again, maybe you can't get out of all these situations. I hear you. But you know what you can do? Stop giving it all your energy. Stop waking up thinking about it. Stop waking up, going to sleep thinking about it. And by doing that, you train your brain. It's not going to happen overnight. But every day when you wake up and you go back to them old patterns, correct yourself, change it, do something else, do something for you. Start journaling, start making a project, start writing a book, start doing art, start writing a song, start dancing, do something that is more focused on you and your well-being and your growth rather than
Absolutely.
situation at hand. Even small things like someone's not helping with the cleaning jobs. Okay, it's frustrating, creates resentment, it's disappointing. Okay, you have a choice. You're still frustrated and resentful. It's going to be there. You're going to be annoyed. Do you then continue to give it your energy and you stress and you worry and you panic and you fear and you anxiety? Or do you then go, okay, it's really annoying. I'm not going to give it anymore. I'm not going to give it anymore. The thing's already not done.
Yep.
So do you give it more energy by being emotionally charged about it? Or do you just not accept it as in being a doormat and accepting that behavior? But if it isn't going to change in that physical moment, if you cannot physically change that person, that action, that behavior, then stop giving it your power. That's how I perceive it.
Absolutely. Call it
Mm.
back in. And at the end of the day, we can't change anybody else's perspective. Everybody's going to have a different perspective. And it's generally our bodies are looking for an expectation of how somebody's going to interact, or, that
Mm-hmm.
feed of a love that you think that you need, or the validation
Yeah.
that you think you need in the moment. But at the end of the day, if you were to just I'm not saying cut that off. I'm saying I'm going to call my power back and see where I'm lending too much right now. See where I can maybe step back, take a breath, make a boundary. Okay.
Yeah.
It's all about empowering yourself to speak up, work in your alignment, discernment, and be able to hold your own energy in a way that's conducive to you, period, no matter what anybody else is doing.
Beautiful. Beautiful said. And I think that truly feels like a lot of the energy for this week is to, first of all, surrender to whatever that truth looks like. As we mentioned at the beginning,
Right.
that might be unmasking, that might be speaking up for yourself, might be putting boundaries in place, might be walking away, might be taking a break. I don't know what that is, but it's going to be something that requires acknowledgement of self. Then truly value who you are, what you've been through, not in a victim perspective, but simply just like what you've been through and who you are and what you are now standing here in front of us today, what that means. If you've seen someone else go through them things, seen someone else create what you did and do what you do, you give it more value than you do for your own. And I've realized that lately. I'm having to look at my things, my creation myself, in a different perspective and actually valuing the things, the creations, the perspectives for what they are, rather than just because I've made it, it's not that good or it's not as good as others. So really shifting that narrative if you can, standing into your true power and accepting your worth and value on a deep, deep level, not just on a surface level. Not being afraid to change, put boundaries in place, take action, speak up for yourself. And I think really, truly protecting yourself, leveling up and taking the action that's required for you to feel like you have got your own back. And I will say that we are going to be doing a lot of this in the reprogramming day. I did it on a one-to-one session online today, and it's really re-inspired my passion for it, my drive for it, the reason why I'm even doing this workshop day. And I am really, truly in the belief that this is a once kind of activational thing that we're all going to be doing together. And it's going to be truly incredible. So there is limited places. And if you are wanting to join us, it's on the 28th of June on Sunday in Settle. And tickets are selling fast. So do get in touch and drop as a message at Spiritual Soul Centre, or just get your tickets on there, because it's going to be very, very game changing. That's all I can say. It is time to change the game for once and for all. And if you want to gain a skill that genuinely will allow you to do this on multiple different dimensional levels, then you know where I'm at. And it does not require you to be a spiritual master. You can come at quite basic knowledge. You don't need to know the whole ends of the world of spirituality and back. Just come as you are. If you get in the call, you're meant to be there. And I'm excited.
All right, I'm excited for you. Get it. All right, that's a good wrap there. I appreciate it. For all of you guys who have been watching up to this point, please don't hesitate to ask us questions. We'd love to do a question answer even too at some point. I know
It'd be
I have
great.
to ask more questions. So whatever it is that you want more detail on or want to expand on, please let us know so we can do that for you.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Thank you, Z, for your time and your space and your wonderful energy. And thanks for just being you.
Likewise, man. I love you so much. Guys,
Love you
let's
guys. Thanks for watching.
Hi, everybody. I hope you enjoy the content and the immersive co-creative processes with others. I have a question for you. What would it be like to fully trust your own perspective, your intuition, all of that beautiful insight that you've gathered over time, all of the healing work that you've done, all the interpersonal deep work that you've done? If you could fully trust that and feel that in your system, walk it without hesitation, without not making the right decision, without stopping yourself, without sabotaging yourself, what would that feel like? And if you'd like to go a little bit deeper, please click on links below and keep it weird.